Bahnstrecke Salzburg to Rosenheim was first released in February 2024 during the TSW4 era. These days, you can get a version that's compatible with TSW6, and it will likely also be compatible with subsequent sequels and all. I had refrained from buying this route for the better part of 2 years, but I thought, screw it, upon seeing that it was 90% off in Dovetail's 2026 Festival of Rail. In the end, this route only cost me $5.69 NZD, while its full price is $57. The route coverage goes for a somewhat decent 55 miles, or 89 kilometers, from Salzburg in Austria to Rosenheim in Germany, so this is the second cross-border route that we got in TSW, following S-Bahn Vorarlberg of September 2023. Also, in before Michael Rosenheim.
Nice.
I should add that the majority of the Rosenheim to Salzburg route is in Germany, and the border is located between Freilassing and Salzburg-Liefering, not far west of Salzburg Hauptbahnhof at all. Personally, I'm disappointed in the lack of the Rosenheim to München section. If that was provided, it would link up with the Hauptstrecke München to Augsburg add-on of October 2020. As for the time period, Salzburg to Rosenheim is set in 2013. What is it with all these Dovetail-made German TSW routes that just so happen to be set in the 2000s or early 2010s instead of a more recent time period? We saw that sort of thing with Bremen to Oldenburg, then again with newer routes like Pfälzische Ludwigsbahn, Frankfurt S-Bahn and Stuttgart to Heilbronn. As for motive power, the Salzburg to Rosenheim DLC doesn't have a particularly good offering, in my opinion. The star of the show is the Deutsche Bahn BR111 electric locomotive, which was a new addition to TSW at the time, but has since been recycled in at least 3 subsequent add-ons. And you also get the Österreichische Bundesbahnen Class 4024 Talent 1, which is recycled from S-Bahn Vorarlberg, along with the Deutsche Bahn BR185-2, which first appeared in Ruhr-Sieg Nord and has since been recycled in more routes than I care to remember. As for freight wagons, you only get the Habbinns 344, which is that covered one further away from the camera, and the Sggmrss container flats, yet more recycled stock, while the only locomotive-hauled passenger stock included with the route is the low-entry 4th generation Doppelstockwagen coaches. I have already said my piece about Dovetail's excessive use of low-entry 4th gen Dostos in previous videos, so I won't repeat myself here. Disappointingly, you can't access the BR111's machine room, even though there is detail modelled in there. The BR111 is an interesting locomotive, in the sense that her power controller is a combination of a tap changer and conventional throttle. I first noticed this while driving the backdated BR111 in Deutsche Bundesbahn condition on Train Sim Germany's Mittenwaldbahn. I should add that this DB Red variant included with Salzburg to Rosenheim has the old-fashioned diamond pantograph, and if you want to run a BR111 with the newer single-arm pantograph, you'll have to pay for a gameplay pack. Dovetail's gonna dovetail, I guess. As an aside, I think the current offering of Austrian rolling stock in Train Sim World is quite poor. At present, all we've got are the Class 4024 Talent 1, Class 1116 Taurus, and Eurofema coaches, albeit without the first class variant because potatoes. And preferably low-carb potatoes at that. There hasn't been any Austrian Federal Railways, or Österreichische Bundesbahnen, rolling stock released for TSW since the Sggmrss add-on of April 2024. Thinking back to the Class 1116 Taurus, which comes with the Semmeringbahn, I like how you're able to drive this locomotive along the Salzburg to Rosenheim route as an alternative to the BR111 and Dostos, although you won't see the tourists hauling the Dostos. Her services are labelled with the EC initials, presumably because it's short for Eurocity, as opposed to referencing the EC class electric locomotives in the smaller Land Down Under. Timetable mode features a measly 41 playable services for the BR111, 88 for the ever-boring BR185-2, 81 for the not-so-boring Class 4024 Talent 1, and 40 with the Dostos cab car leading a passenger service. Motive power from numerous other German add-ons will layer, or substitute, into the timetable on Salzburg to Rosenheim. The add-ons in question are the Expert BR101, Original BR101, Niedertalbahn, Linkrheinstrecke Mainz to Koblenz, S-Bahn Vorarlberg, Nachverkehr Dresden, Ruhrsieg Nord, Schnellfahrstrecke Kassel to Würzburg, DB BR363, Bahnstrecke Bremen to Oldenburg, Semmeringbahn, DB BR155, Railpool BR193 Vectron, and the Foslo G6. I'm afraid I still haven't got the Expert BR101, nor do I know if I'll ever acquire that pack. Thinking back to the Railpool BR193, it's time for the return of the musical Vectron. See if you can correctly guess the riff. There's not much that you can do with the Talent 1 on this route, as she is only used to represent the S-Bahn services out of Salzburg Hauptbahnhof, which are only playable for the short section between Salzburg Hauptbahnhof and Freilassing. The longest service you can do with the Talent 1 only takes 15 minutes to complete. Meanwhile, when you're driving the BR185-2 on a heavy freight train, it's important to remember not to apply too much power too quickly, otherwise the locomotive's wheels will slip. As for what the BR111 and Dostos are used for, they handle the RE5 regional service, which actually continues beyond Rosenheim and all the way to München Hauptbahnhof. The trains are arranged with the BR111 locomotive always facing Salzburg and the Dostos cab car always facing Rosenheim. These days, and if my research is correct, the RE5 service is now handled by Stadler Flirt 3 EMUs in Bayerische Regiobahn colours. The more cynical side of me wants to believe that Dovetail conveniently set the in-game route far enough back in time to avoid having to put in the effort to model the Flirt 3, and so they could just recycle some of their existing rolling stock. But to be fair, and for all I know, the silly sods from Chatham simply might not have been able to get the license for BRB's livery. In any case, it's worth mentioning that it takes 1 hour and 12 minutes to go from Rosenheim to Salzburg, or vice versa, when you're running a regional service with the BR111. When I was researching this route, I discovered that Prien am Chiemsee station is an interchange with the Chiemsee Bahn, a meter gauge railway that runs for 1.9 kilometers to Prien Stock. I was surprised to discover that, once you've completed the mastery challenges, the Chiemsee Bahn's tram engine, and some coaches, can be unlocked as a scenery tile. I was disappointed to see that this lot isn't drivable, and doesn't even move as an AI-only thing, but it's still interesting to see in the game regardless. I don't know about you, but personally, I think that both Rosenheim and Salzburg Hauptbahnhof feel way too quiet for big stations with lots of platforms. Now that I think about it, it's not just those two stations. The whole route feels pretty quiet. I was getting frequent stuttering on my first run along this route, but the performance improved a little bit on later runs. On my end, the frame rate averages between 45 and 90 frames per second, but it can plummet to around 30 FPS at Salzburg Hauptbahnhof depending on which way the camera is pointing. The frame rate drop still happens even when there aren't many trains present, which is actually most of the time throughout this timetable. Sometimes, you don't see any NPCs at all, and their absence doesn't help the route's overall feeling of quietness. Another issue that I noticed was a really bad case of floating track on the curve outside of Rosenheim, heading towards Salzburg. I went into this review hoping that I would find the Salzburg to Rosenheim route decent, and to an extent I do, but,
and this is a big but,
various things, like the often quiet timetable, let the overall experience down for me. Quite frankly, I'm glad that I didn't pay anywhere near full price for this route, and I don't think I'll be revisiting it all that much in future. Mainly because of the use of those blasted 4th gen low-entry Dostos on the main passenger service, but also because of the route coverage ending at Rosenheim instead of continuing all the way to München, and most of the included rolling stock just being recycled from previous add-ons. In the end, I think I'll give Dovetail's Bahnstrecke Salzburg to Rosenheim route add-on a 5 out of 10. It's neither as good as the Mittenwaldbahn or as bad as S-Bahn Central Schweiz. It just exists,